This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Remember when networking was something consultants used to do? In fact, it was probably their favorite thing. And then LinkedIn came along, and now everyone's screwing it up. But Mr. Trevor Turnbull is here to help us with doing it right. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Newman?
So, we're talking about LinkedIn and lead generation. Start by painting the picture of the good, the bad, the ugly, and how things got to be as ugly as they are, with people being as confused as they are.
Okay, so quick backstory. I graduated with a marketing degree in 2003, which means that's pre-social media. My sales manager threw the phone book on my desk and said, "Best of luck, kid." I knew I didn't want to cold call for a living because I hated it. I was decent at it, but I didn't like it. And I leveraged events, right? I went to breakfast events, I went to luncheons, conferences, that type of thing. And it worked. And, fast forward 15 years later, we have all these tools available to us, many of them that you can, if you choose to, automate and push a button and spam the crap out of people. And I think the best way to summarize it, David, and we've talked about this before, is that I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk that said it like 3 or 4 years ago, that like marketers ruin everything, right? And they will continuously for the end till the end of time. And LinkedIn, unfortunately, had that happen. I'm not saying LinkedIn's ruined, but I'm saying that the way that people are using it needs to be different if they wanted to actually effectively connect with people and get them to take you seriously. So, anybody that's listening to this is going to be a consultant, a coach, a speaker, typically somebody that's well established with what you do. And I know my clients value their reputation. So therefore, the idea of automating messaging and, sending scripts out just isn't attractive to them, especially when they start to put themselves in the seat of the people that they're reaching out to. Nobody wants to get that message that sounds like the same one you send to everybody else. So that's what I've leaned into. And I've been doing this for over 10 years now and doing those things in the past. Don't get me wrong. Like, we went through that evolution too, where we used the tools and we queued up all the scripts, and just quite frankly doesn't work. It just doesn't work anymore. So we have to find a way to do it better and know how to do it, when to do it, and then how to get yourself out of it as much as possible, knowing that you're busy. Because everybody that's listening to this, you're good at one thing typically, and it's usually not marketing and sales, and it's certainly not LinkedIn lead generation as a core expertise. So that's kind of where I come in.
But even sales professionals, and we can argue that, of course, every sales professional these days also needs to be a trusted advisor and act as a consultant. But certainly every consultant and speaker and thought leader and coach also needs to learn some professional selling skills, and especially around lead generation. Would you say, Trevor, that, when LinkedIn came on the scene, and then maybe, 5 years into it, people are like, "Oh my God, this is great. I can do lead generation at scale. I can spam 50 people at a time. I can just go in and I can pay for in-mail, and I can just start bombarding strangers. And this is the greatest thing since sliced bread." Kind of like when we started with email, right back in the early days of email. It's like, wait a minute, I can send Trevor an email. This is awesome. And he
How
will
many can I
read
send
it.
a day?
Holy smokes, that's so great. So talk us off the ledge of this kind of mass market batch and blast mentality that so many people still have around LinkedIn, and why that doesn't work anymore, and what this personalized approach, let's kind of peel back the onion one more layer. What does this personalized approach really start to look like?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I'm going to talk about this, I think, for the first time publicly, David. So we're going to get into some stuff that'll go a little deeper too. We've been doing this for a long time, and we've done all that stuff that you just said. And it used to work. Don't get me wrong. Everything that you do the very first time, it works because it grabs attention, right? This is the thing that everybody's after, is like they want to have people pay attention. They want people to know they exist at a very ground level, right? And then, of course, they need that person, or you need to, as the expert, illuminate pains and problems and talk about the consequences of not solving them, the typical marketing stuff that we all need to do to help establish ourselves as experts, and to just like honestly have the person start thinking about the things that they don't yet know are a problem, or they do and they hurt. So the hierarchy of all this is literally, and I'm looking at a diagram right now. I don't have anything public on this, but I started to map this out about the typical buyer's journey. We all know the basics of the buyer's journey is like awareness, consideration, decision. That's about the basic as you can get, right? But what if we called it attention, belief, and chemistry? So attention, how do you get on the radar of that person to let them know that you exist and to illuminate those pains? Belief, why you? Right? So what do you bring to the table that the other consultant, coach, speaker, thought leader doesn't, or at least in your own unique way? And that's another key component, I think, too. And this is another topic that we could go down a spiraling path on, but there's so many people that are coaches, consultants, speakers nowadays. And it's just going up and up and up, which is amazing for our businesses because we serve these people at a very high level. But it's creating incredible competition for the person that has been doing this for 20 years. Now all of a sudden their competition just doubled in the last 6 months. So how do they stand out? Usually it's proven results. It's a unique methodology. It's a solution to a problem that creates a desired outcome. And then of course, the last one that I spoke of there, which is that decision stage, I call it chemistry because ultimately people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So it's about chemistry, like not to get too woo-woo on us here, but you hire people and you ideally attract clients that have similar values, that align with your mission, or at least can see how your mission can help them get from one place to the next. And you have a vision that's inspiring, that's something that they either aspire to and they want to align with, knowing that let's go down that path together. So that's a long way to say that, spam marketing, automated marketing, pushing a button and hoping that the numbers just spit out the other end and make sense just doesn't make sense. And instead, it's about the simple analogy of just going deeper, right? So quality over quantity. That being said, there's limited hours in a day. So how does a person actually do that? The one hack, if we want to call it, that I've found is to use video. Not just for publishing content and doing stuff like this, interviews and whatnot, but to actually message people with video and audio, not just video, but in a more dynamic way that is ultimately the only replacement that we have to what is typically a live networking experience. Because when you meet somebody, you see body language, you look into their eyes, you immediately start to make judgments about that person. Now, don't get me wrong, this terrifies people because it immediately gets them thinking like, well, what are they going to think about me? And who am I to be speaking on this topic? And what if I reach out to the wrong person at the wrong time and they say something bad? That's ultimately one of the biggest things that we work with our clients and what I create content around constantly, because it's an amazing opportunity to actually help coaches, consultants, speakers humanize networking again. Take it back to what used to work, which is, would you say this to somebody if you were standing across from them with your coffee in your hand at 6 a.m? If you use that as your test of how you do outreach, I think people would probably do things a lot differently.
And I'm sure it'd be good for some laughs.
Yeah.
Read your last 3 LinkedIn messages to prospects and take the Trevor test. Would you say that at a networking event at 6 a.m., looking eye to eye over coffee to that person? You'd be like, no, oh my God, I would never say that. Well, now you have a problem.
Exactly. And the core of it really comes down to patience, right? Like that's why we don't walk into networking events where we've never met those people and just fire business cards around at the tables and walk out. It doesn't work. It doesn't build rapport. It kind of positions you in a way that most people don't want to be positioned. But it takes time, right? Like you go to one networking event, you build some rapport, you come back the next week and the next week and the next week and the next week. And by the time you get to month 3, there's trust built. And now they're referring you business. It's the exact same thing. It's no different. Just LinkedIn gives us a platform to do it in a virtual way.
Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results may be priceless. So I love what you're saying about, and I want to get into the linchpin method, because I also love what you said about we're not winging it, we're not guessing, we're not hoping, it's not random, that you really have dialed in a method and a repeatable process that works. So we'll get to that in a moment. But I love what you said about video and audio messaging, because I'll tell you, on LinkedIn, it's also on Facebook for that matter, but mainly on LinkedIn, someone leaves you a video or an audio and you get 3,000 text interactions, comments, likes, private messages. 3,000 of those, someone bothers to record a 90-second video. Hey, David, I read your article about blah, 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 blah. It's really cool. Do you mind if I share it with my network? It's like, whoa, dude, I love you all of a sudden. First of all, you bothered to make a video. Number two, it's a give. It's not an ask. Or it's a little audio kind of thing, almost like as intimate as a phone call. You know, when we talk about audio, one thing I want to just give you huge credit for, audio is powerful because audio, someone is literally whispering in your ear. This is why a phone call, a one-on-one phone call, is so powerful. Or Voxer or voice messages, etc., is you are getting the person's whispering in your ear. Now, hopefully they're not whispering in a weird way, but it's very intimate, it's personal, and it shows, hey, I took some time because I care. And you know they're not doing that with 300 people because there's no way they would have time to do it with 300 people. So there's an extra layer of intentionality behind the video outreach and the audio outreach. So I'm just loving that. Walk us through the method.
Yeah, well, no, I'm glad you said it that way too. And I'll just say this before I talk about the method. What I teach and what I speak about is unscalable to a certain degree. You can clone yourself and replace yourself in certain instances, but your personal connection and touch where you say somebody's name out loud in a video or an audio message, until the time, which don't get me wrong, we're close to have the AI technology that will actually do this for you. Like, I'm serious, like 6 months from now, I'll bet you this will be happening. You literally just have to put in the time. So the biggest key is to know where is your time best served. And that's a whole nother topic. We can talk about that as well. The methodology, the reason I built it, David, was really, it came to me on a Sunday. Here's the backstory. It came to me on a Sunday. And I said to my wife, I need to go downstairs. I got an idea. And the idea was kind of rooted in the fact that I was seeing a shift happening. And especially when COVID hits and just everything that was going on, you could start to tell that like people were starting to go remote and the networking wasn't going to exist. So what we were doing previously, we were seeing a steady decline in those strategies and the outreach, right? So I knew that I had to pivot fast in what we were teaching people. And I knew that it had to be focused around video. So I really centered it around Seth Godin's book, which is Linchpin, Are You Indispensable, right? So most people have read it or heard of that book. And he talks about unapologetically sharing your gifts. And what I hear when I hear that statement is, you know, one, it's like, be forward to say, I am good at this thing and I think I can help you. Now, if you just do outreach that says, hey, I'm good at this thing, can I help you? You want to book a call? It ain't going to resonate. Like, people will not respond to it. So that's where I built the framework of just the video structure of how you communicate. And this works whether you're publicly publishing video or you're sending it directly to people. And it's really simple. It sounds overly simple, actually. Vulnerability, empathy, gratitude, and a clear call to action. Vulnerability, and I'll summarize these as quickly, easily as possible. Number one, be a human being. So when you're speaking to people, don't be robotic. Don't overproduce it. Don't worry about your background. Don't worry about your lighting. Just take action and reach out to people. Be a human, right? The more imperfect, the better. The unsteady that your hand is, the more shaky the video is, within reason, the better, because it creates instant trust or connection. The empathy side is that we have to connect on a level that puts that person first and makes them truly understand and believe that we care. So empathy in today's world is an easy one to articulate, because if you think of, like, if your ideal client is an HR manager or an HR director, they're firing people, they're having to do remote work situations. If you don't acknowledge that in your outreach, it's not going to land again, right? And if you do those two things at the start of every video, and like this can be 10 seconds, just like, 15 words that you say, this is the key to making this actually like stick. And then gratitude is the part about the unapologetically sharing of your gifts. So, what have you done that you believe you can really truly help people with? What is that massive value painkiller that you bring to the table, that core expertise that solves big problems? And then have a clear call to action to offer up something that would give that thing to them, whether it is a direct phone call, which obviously is the most forward type of way to do it, and your response rate and conversion rates would be lowest on that, or create some type of a resource that you can provide them that truly provides value. Now, this is another thing where, you and I have been in this game long enough to know too that the marketing spin on like lead magnets and that type of thing is taking all kinds of turns. And it's my opinion that if you have something really, really of value, if with your expertise, you should give that away for free. So take your best ideas and put them into something consumable, whether it's a video, a guide, a PDF, a Google Doc, something that solves a big problem as quick as possible. Even if you believe that it's your secret sauce and your IP that nobody on the planet has, because I'm going to guess that you're probably wrong on that. Somebody else is doing what you do too. The differentiator is that you're willing to give it away with no strings attached. And that most people, and I would say 99% of people, don't need the information anyways. They just think they do. It's the transformation of a coach or a consultant that can help you get the outcome that you're looking for. So the information, give it to them. Let them consume it, get a quick win, and then go, that's the person that gave it to me. I trust them the most. That's essentially it.
Now, when you say free, are we saying that it should not be behind an email opt-in?
No, that's a good question. So obviously just releasing it out into the world or sharing it in a document in comments and that type of thing, what you lose from a marketing perspective is the ability to track who's interested in it. So what we've done and what I teach people to do is to give a bit of a teaser to say, here's this thing that I created. It solves this big problem. If you want it, just leave a comment and I'll send it to you. Now, we've seen people do this on Facebook for a long time,
Sure.
but it's a bit of a new thing on LinkedIn because, quite frankly, the type of people and the marketers on Facebook versus LinkedIn have been different in the last like 3 to 5 years. We're starting to see that shift. The marketers that were on Facebook are coming to LinkedIn and starting to do similar tactics, which again, marketers ruin everything. So we've got windows for all of these, these things that we're talking about here. But the reason why we do it where we request, like for me, for example, if somebody wants my LinkedIn Linchpin method, I ask them to just comment Linchpin and then I'll send it to them in a direct message. And then I have a virtual assistant that tracks every single person that's requested that. And then she actually goes through and she ranks them based on a scoring system that I have. And then all I have to do is once a day go back in and go, where's all my fives? Where's all the ones that she's noted as like, do they meet these criteria of the kind of people that I can serve best?
Just to be clear, Trevor, she's doing that by looking at their profile and looking at some criteria of, is this person serious? Are they in the right position? Do they look like they're taking LinkedIn seriously? Is their profile complete? Is their profile compelling? I'm guessing it's kind of a checklist of subjective and objective criteria that you have trained her to look for.
Exactly. It has to be very measurable stuff, right? So for me, I'll give you the criteria, for example. Are they a certified coach or consultant? Yes or no, right? Do they have credentials behind them, meaning they've invested their time and their money to go and get those credentials? Do they have a website? It's not a major differentiator on how good they are at what they do, but anybody that invests in a website invests in coaching and consulting and lead generation and the kind of things that we sell, right? And they're willing to because they know that they can't wear every hat. They need to get out of the way and hire the experts. Are they actively posting on LinkedIn? If they're engaged on LinkedIn and they're producing content, they are, number one, trying to market themselves, but also they're hoping for, like intrinsically, they want engagement. Like we all crave this, right? You put something out in the world and nobody says anything or does anything, and you kind of feel like it ain't working, which isn't true. That's a whole nother topic as well, which is like, don't be attached to the engagement because it doesn't mean that much, to be honest. But we're still humans. If you put a video out, a podcast or something, and you're all excited about it and it gets 2 likes, and then a week later I come in and I comment and say, wow, this is really well done. Great job on the podcast. It stands out. You meet that criteria of what we started this conversation with, which is attention. You've now got on the radar of that person going, oh, I got a comment. Who is it? Now they're down that spider web. They're looking at your profile. They're looking at your content. Rinse and repeat. That's the model.
How about that? Well, I think this is one of the key things, and I'm so excited that we're talking about this. People say, I don't know how to identify good leads on LinkedIn. So it's like, well, some profiles are better than others, and some profiles are more complete than others, and some have, the background graphic and some don't. Obviously, some have a photo and some don't. No photo, no bueno, right? So that person's not even serious. Some people have a very skeletal about section or a very skeletal experience section. They don't care. They don't care what their LinkedIn looks like. They're not really an active player. Oh, they haven't been there for the last 30 days. Well, you're not going to reach them on LinkedIn if they log in once a month. So all of these criteria, you can separate the wheat from the chaff. And I love what you said about certification. So, if you sell to accountants or you sell to accounting firms, there's all kinds of filters and criteria in LinkedIn based on company size, based on revenue, based on industry. You can search for professional designations. So if I'm looking for meeting planners, right, there's the certified meeting planner or certified association executive. I do a search, CAE, well, there's 749 leads. I do a search for CMP. There's another 2,625. It's a finite, fixed list of prospects. And I also love what you said, Trevor, about we don't need 1 million clients. Most of us are probably happy with 5, 10 new clients a month because we're selling high fee, high value services. We're not selling widgets. We're not selling $25 a month, crap. We're selling things that cost $5, $10, $20, $30,000 or more if it's a consulting thing. So right there, that identifying the good prospects. Now, what's that nurturing cycle? What's that dating process that you mentioned? Because of course, the big complaint that we've all had on the receiving end, some guy just wanted to connect with me, and the very next thing, he's cramming a sales pitch down my throat, or he's saying, hey, opt into this, or look at my thing. And there's no relationship, there's no rapport, there's no trust, there's no respect. What's that slow simmer-like process look like? And how do we learn to be patient with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's something that honestly I've spent all of my time on in the last 10 months because, until January 2020, I was using very much of a push type of a outreach strategy, right? Get connected, have a virtual handshake, we called it. Hey, great to have you in my network. If I could ever introduce you to somebody, like, come on, you guys have all seen this script. And I have to lay claim to some of these things that are not necessarily good because I helped create them or I train people how to use them.
Yeah, tens of thousands of people are now doing it wrong because of you, but now luckily they're doing it right because of you.
There you go. And what I'm teaching now is going to change in 6 months too, right? But that's just the nature of all of this.
It evolves.
It evolves, yeah. But, to simply answer your question, it's kind of what we came back to before, which is number one, have the patience to know that this is a long-term game, but there are opportunities to fast track that. And ideally, you need to do that through content. You can't force your way into a conversation or a sales call with people through direct messaging because people have their guard up before you even start. I have this article that I wrote called The Messy Buyer's Journey. And how everybody, when they start using LinkedIn, they go, I think I should be using this more. And then they start investing their time or money into it. And they go, oh, this is going to be the savior. I'm going to connect with 1,000 people and 500 are going to accept. And then I'm going to get on 50 phone calls and I'm going to get 5 new clients. And it's just rinse and repeat. It doesn't work like that. The truth is you're going to reach out to 1,000 people and 1,000 of them are going to go, who the hell is this? And what are they trying to sell me? That's the first thing that's going to happen. So what is it? What are they going to find out, right? So they go to your profile. Does your headline speak about who you serve, how you serve them, why they should trust you, why you're different? I refer to it as the McDonald's statements, what is your 1 billion burgers served statement you can put in your LinkedIn profile? And then what journey can you take them down? What does your about section say so that it almost reads like a sales page? How does your featured section play into that journey? Is there one main thing that you want them to consume that's going to, be so valuable that they're going to turn to you and go, that was really good. And imagine if that free thing was just the tip of the iceberg, right? So you can kind of see the journey on that. And then, of course, content plays a part in it too, because people do their research, right? The extended part of the messy buyer's journey is even if they get that far, it's likely that it's dinner time and the wife or the husband's calling saying dinner, and then they forget about you. Or they saw one of your testimonials and they ended up on YouTube. And in the credits of the YouTube video, there's some baby laughing and now they're gone. They're watching the cat videos, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're dealing with today as professionals trying to market and stand out in a busy marketplace. So the nurture sequence is simply create content that aids the buyer's journey, that has people clearly understanding, how you can help them, why you're credible for what you do, and do we connect on a personal level, and let them do their own discovery because they're going to do it anyways. You may as well help lead that process. And then stay in touch, follow up. I can't think of the last time I sent a message on LinkedIn that said, want to hop on a call? Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to send them somewhere that offers up enough value that people would go, that was valuable. And just always know too, this is the key thing I think, David, too, is even if you send somebody something that's so valuable, you know it, they know it, it's even public knowledge that it's super valuable and you're giving it away for free, somebody's going to have a bad day. And they're going to say some stuff to you that you've never heard before. And you got to have thick skin. This is prospecting 101. This is sales 101. You're going to hear no more than you're going to hear yes. So the more authentically you can do your outreach, knowing that somebody else's pushback doesn't have to reflect on exactly how you go about your day, the better off we'll all be. So you got to work on the mindset. It's a key component to all of this stuff.
Yeah. Wow. So let me ask you, because you just dropped a kind of an interesting thing, tactical, granted, but I heard it. Should we have only one thing in the featured section? Because I know people cram, they put testimonials in there, they put videos in there, they put their white papers in there, they just jam that thing full of all kinds of things. Should that featured section be that one biggest, juiciest, best lead magnet, or is it okay to mix it up?
I believe it should be your one biggest, juiciest lead magnet. Absolutely. And the other pieces that you could add to the featured section, because for those of you listening or watching that aren't familiar with what we're talking about, down below the About section in a LinkedIn profile, you have the ability to basically add whatever you want in there. Links to websites, upload PDFs, grab a link from a LinkedIn post and put it in a featured section. There's actually only 2.25 images that actually show up on LinkedIn, right? So it's 1, 2, and then a quarter of a third one. So your first one should be a clear call to action, in my opinion, to that most valuable thing that you can give that person to help them solve a big problem. The second thing should be something that supports that. So for me, for example, I have an article that I wrote, on the one thing you should stop doing immediately on LinkedIn. And it's got an image that basically says spam. It's complementing the piece. It's complementing the lead magnet, right? So that was my intention with it. My third piece, which is hidden, is a personal article that I had written on Entrepreneur that basically talks about my real story. Like not the polished up fancy entrepreneur story, but like the real story about how crazy it was and the ups and the downs and the debts and the wins and the losses along the way. But I know without knowing the exact stats that most people aren't clicking that little arrow to get over to the third one anyways. So yes, the answer is focus on one. The more clear you can make it, the better.
What a great episode. Wowza. Tell you what, if you want to ramp up your revenue as an expert who speaks professionally, you should really check out our free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. Well, let me ask you, anything else we need to know? Obviously, we're going to have a great resource that we're going to tell people about in a moment that they can get their hands on this and go a little bit deeper with you. Anything else about that video and audio communication method that is worth talking about at this point?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is, I've been doing live case studies for this methodology for the last 28 days. I'm going to do one more actually. I'm going to turn it into 29 days. It's almost like a rehab of your your outreach, right? But There was 6 days in that live case study where I talked directly about video messaging. And I did that because I knew that there's different types of videos for different types of prospects, different types of people at different stages. When you first connect with somebody and you send a video message, what do you say? How quickly do you respond? Do you send a video? Do you use the LinkedIn app? Do you use the audio? I answered it in there. The next one might be if somebody requests something from you through a LinkedIn post, like your guide or whatever, and you send it to them and you follow up, what do you say? When do you send it? Do you know what I mean? Like there are different types of messages. And then there's even ones that I recorded that are talking about, so somebody booked a call with you. How can you send a video message to that person prior to the call to educate and qualify and build trust before you ever even get on the call? How can you follow up after a call with valuable info that says, hey, you know what? I really enjoyed our call. And you know what? I was diving in your LinkedIn profile and actually I went to your content and I saw you just did this podcast. This is really well done. You should keep doing this. Anyways, I'm going to send you the proposal. I look forward to staying in touch. We got a call lined up again next Tuesday. We'll talk to you soon. That 30 seconds of a video could make the difference between them choosing you and somebody else. So it's those little tiny things I think of, like not just how do I use video to send more messages, but to get very specific about the intention of the message at each stage of where these people are actually at in their own buyer's journey.
Right. Now, are we doing just raw video and uploading in a message, or are we using like BombBomb or Hippo video? What do you recommend?
Yeah, you can't actually upload video to LinkedIn messaging, but you can use the app. So yeah, you just open up your app, go to the message, and there's the ability to actually record a video right there. And that actually puts a playable video in the message. The alternative is exactly what you just said, David. It's like BombBomb, Loom, Vidyard. There's a ton of these tools. Obviously, the downside to using those is that when you share them, they link outside of LinkedIn when they click them, right? They can't play in the messages, at least right now. That might change. Who knows? LinkedIn changes constantly. But you do get the added benefit, though, of like being able to add a title onto the video. And it has a little animated GIF as well, so they can see themselves in the background, for example. So it's all worth experimenting. I do a little bit of both just to see kind of what resonates the most. And I'll switch it up with the same person. I'll send a Loom, then I'll send a video directly on the app. And then if I'm doing another follow-up, I might send them an audio message.
Right.
Just pattern interruption.
Because you know why? That's what real human beings do.
Right?
At one moment you get an email,
pattern.
then you might get a text, then you get a video, then you get an audio, because that's how friends communicate with each other, right? If they don't feel like typing, it's like, even on Facebook or email, whatever, you say, hey, rather than typing, I thought it'd be quicker just to, share some thoughts with you. Number one, number two, number three, number four. Now, inside secret tip, and I think you do this with your clients too, once they become clients, then it really blows their mind. It's like, oh my God, Trevor made me a video and I'm in Trevor's program and Trevor's my consultant, but the guy stopped what he was doing, interrupted his day, made me a video to answer my question or to help me through an issue. Holy smokes. So if you think it's good when you're a prospect, wait till you become a client. It's really, really great.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about, and we're going to get to the goodie, the special bonus that everyone is getting courtesy of your generosity. The last part of this, you mentioned in passing, I want to dig into it just for another minute, cloning ourselves.
Yes.
What can we do in this linchpin method where we're not constantly doing this ourselves, and there are parts that we can start to systematize and perhaps delegate? How does that work?
Yeah, well, it's a key component to actually making this work. And, I kind of learned this the hard way. I'm not going to lie. Like when I first came up with this methodology in March of 2020 and I launched it, people were like, this is amazing. Like really well done. I see the path. And then I'd say, okay, well, great, go do it. And then nothing. And I was like, what's the problem here? Like people are seeing the connection of like, okay, I get it. This is what I need to do. I need to go deeper with my relationships. I need to connect on a more personal level. But we're all busy. So I don't know about you, but I don't got time to be a full-time just marketer. Like I'm doing some sales. I'm running a team. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I got other things to do. I don't got time to spend 24 hours a day just sending video messages. So the key is to remove yourself as much as possible, one step at a time, by using virtual assistants. No automation tools, but instead a virtual assistant. And there's obviously a checklist of where you can start with that, right? So, like, one would be, for example, if you're going to be sending connection requests, say you identify a list of here's 100 people that I know that I want to go and connect with. You can incorporate and add a virtual assistant in to go through that list, open their profile, look at their most recent posts, go like, send the connection request. That's about as simple as you can get. And think about the time that you save. But think about the impact of that, though, too. So the alternative is you go and do that. And obviously, you don't have time to do it. But if you eliminate that step of like on somebody's post, and you just send the connection request, they're really going, who the hell is this? And what are they trying to sell me? So if it's preceded with, oh, this person just liked my stuff, whatever, lots of people do. And then you see the connect request, you're like, huh, this person's checking out my stuff. It makes you want to know a little bit more. And there's a lot of other ones like that too, David, obviously, of like being able to, quote unquote, lead score, like going through and saying, here's my criteria of the people that I know that I should spend my most time on. So you might pull a list of 100 people, have the VA go and connect with them and do that little bit of engagement beforehand. And then once you get 30, 40, 50 of them connect, have them go back through and lead score and say, which ones are fives? Because those fives, I'm going to go do custom videos where I say, hey, David, great to connect. Just wanted to put a face to the name. You can learn more about me on my LinkedIn profile. I'd love to learn more about what you're up to. Even send me a video back. This tool is kind of cool. I'm new to it, but anyways, look forward to keeping in touch. See you later. That's your first video. And you do that to 5 people. And then maybe you record a more generic version of it and the other 35 get that one and your VA sends those messages for you.
Right.
You see how all the pieces kind of fit together here?
Yeah, that's really brilliant. And this whole idea of, I love the personalized videos where like I say, hey, Trevor, blah, 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 blah. But then the power of the video templates comes in like when you say, hey, I'm going to send you something before our next meeting. Well, you say, hey, David Newman here, super excited about our upcoming call. Here's 2 things I'd love you to have a look at before we chat. Have a look at them. If you have any questions, ping me, and I'll see you on our call. I didn't use their name. I didn't use the date. I didn't use the time, but it feels personal. I can send that to the folks that are kind of in the funnel who have already booked a call. Does not need to be 30 different videos for 30 calls I'm having that week.
Exactly. So you could look at all of the videos that you currently have on your thank you pages after booking calls and just use a version of that. Have a virtual assistant go connect you with that person, send that message. You got, and again, buyer's journey, right? Yeah. So they booked a call. They're at the interest level. Like they're already there. They're trying to see if you're a good fit and if they connect on a personal level. Now they get a ping from you on LinkedIn in addition to their email, and it's a video saying how they can best get the most out of the call. Game changer. It'll help you stand out.
Absolutely. Speaking of game changer, you, as part of this summit, are giving away the LinkedIn Linchpin Method Guide, which is sort of the entire strategy mapped out for people. Let's talk about what they will find in that when they go pick it up right now.
Yeah, so the link, and we can just link it up on the page there for everybody to go and get. But essentially, it's the framework of what we were just talking about. So, a big chunk of it is just kind of what I already spoke to, which is the introduction of like why. Why is this relevant right now? And then there's a bit of information in there on me because you need to know why you can trust my advice. What have I done to get to this point to know that don't work? This does. Then the breakdown of the actual process is in there. So everything to do with that framework I talked about, vulnerability, empathy, gratitude, a clear call to action. Tons of examples in there, both of videos that are used to promote guides. Like our clients have actually created guides similar to mine. We have a whole framework inside there too on how to create your own guide and to keep it simple, even to remove yourself from 90% of the process and hand it to a copywriter to do it. And then the follow-up process, who do you follow up with? When? What do you say? What tools do you use? All that kind of stuff. So it's all inside the guide. And what I would say is, the link that I'm going to share is going to be one that's unique so that I know that you found it through this. And by doing so, I'm going to reach out to every single person too that is doing that because I want to understand, did you find this valuable? And I want to build a relationship with you, right? Because David, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to even come and speak to all these people because obviously we built a ton of rapport. And, I trust David, as much as anybody from a professional standpoint, as far as like, this guy's legit, he can help you. And anybody that's going to come to this, often to my thing, I want to get more connected with you too, because obviously we're on one similar wavelength already. So, and I will reach out and I'll see how I can help you as best as possible. So we'll link it up around this video.
Yes. You know what I love about this is that you not only put the method in the model, you are modeling the method, my friend. You are modeling the method. So offer value, invite engagement, take the conversation human to human. I love it. I love it.
You got to eat the dog food, right? That was something that I've learned the hard way over the years. And I have a mindset mentor in our program for a reason, to support our clients, but also to call me out and keep me accountable. Every time I teach something and I'm like, you should go do this, she'll go, you're not doing that. You're out of alignment. Go do it. Then you can start speaking about that. Right. So that's exactly it. It's me saying, hey, why don't I go a little bit extra step further to say, if you listen to this all the way through, opt in, consume my stuff, the least I can do is reach out to you and say thanks. So I promise you that will happen.
Awesome. Well, Trevor Turnbull, you are the man, the myth, the legend, and the model, the modeler of excellence. Great to talk to you as always.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much again, David. I appreciate it.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.